I hadn't planned on making any more videos, but somebody left a message on my phone saying they appreciated my videos and what I was doing. It's October 2nd, and robbing has become an issue. I have a lot of bees, and there's 2 commercial beekeepers that have apiaries in my area, or it may be the same commercial beekeeper with 2 separate apiaries. But anyway, there's a lot of bees here at home, and I still have over 200 colonies. I have almost 120 here at home, and I have almost 90 at a different apiary southwest of me. So I haven't had a lot of time to keep notes, but these are my notes for the last few weeks. And I've had a lot of colonies, about half a dozen or so, that tried making new queens. They weren't my decision. The colony decided to do it, and of course they all failed. For some reason, colonies do not do very well at the end of summer trying to make new queens. The last successful queen that a colony did, I didn't do that one, was July 30th. So the month of August and September, no new queens. Colonies have failed from lack of a queen, and colonies have failed from the varroa mites. I noticed on September 14th, the varroa mites have been an issue. See, I kept notes here. Varroa mites are getting out of control. So the colonies are getting weakened from varroa mites. So I started, I realized I had 2 of these for a couple years, and one of them burned out last fall. And I was looking at getting another one, but the amount of colonies I have, it's just, I couldn't manage to do all the colonies with these sufficiently, and so I decided to make a decision. And the other thing is, these are not repairable. This is basically a heating element, and once it burns out, that's junk. So you spend $160 on a piece of junk, and the silic acid works just fine. It's cheap. This is $35 a bag, 10-pound bag from Walmart.com. So I looked on eBay, and I got one of these ProVap 110 voltage, and it's set for 230. You can adjust the setting that the bowl heats to, and then the top, I'll show you real quick here. The top reading is the actual temperature of the bowl, that if it's going up. See, I just got power now. It's giving a bad reading right now. Okay, now it's 11. 230 is the temperature that it'll stop heating at. Sometimes it stops before it gets there and comes back on again. So it's taking a while because it's cold. So I can do 25 colonies an hour with this. Okay, now it's going up. It takes a while getting it warmed up, but once you get it warmed up, here's the issue that I have. I call these bowls. There's one in here already, and you get 2 of these when you buy one of these, and you can get more. I'm thinking about getting more, because what happens is, you're trying to do these real quick. You turn it over. When you're done, you turn it over and you put your fingers there, and you gotta be careful you burn your fingers. And you want to have this one here ready. You get this one ready, and you push down on it, and then you don't turn it over until you get to the entrance of the hive, and then you turn it over and get it in there. And then as soon as you get that done, I don't use a scoop, and I don't use a mask either, a respirator, because I'm doing this for several hours, and I have a runny nose early in the morning. It's more of a hassle. So I'm using my fingers. I'm reaching in there, put this over the opening. I use a smaller container, and I'm putting the silic acid in there. Sometimes this is still warm. It'll stick to the side of it. So for a double deep, I fill it all the way to the top as much as I can, heap it up on there. And for a single deep, I take my finger and go like that. And you see, I haven't had time to clean this up. So anyway, it works really well, and let me show you how well it works. This is the board that was underneath the screen bottom board, and this was underneath the colony for 2 weeks, 3 treatments. I did 1 treatment, and then 4 days later I did another, and then 5 days later I did a third. See, these are all varroa mites. There's probably over 100 varroa mites. And you can tell which ones dropped first, because the ones that were dropped first are white. They're covered. This is acylic acid. That's acylic acid. So the ones that are white were the ones that dropped first, and the ones that aren't white, like that one there, that dropped later. That's probably the third treatment. So if I hadn't done this, my bees would die this winter. So that's why I claim, and it's true, I had a crop farmer kill my honeybees in the state of Michigan, told me he killed my honeybees, but then he also told me the farmer did nothing wrong. So that's why my wife and I have been inhaling chemicals for over 30 years living here. And that's why she ended up getting cancer. She doesn't smoke, she doesn't drink. It's the toxic chemicals from these crop farmers that are killing people. But the rich people want that because they're making money. Every time you go to the hospital to get your cancer treatments, they're making money off that. And they're making money selling these chemicals to the farmers. And the food you're eating is full of toxic chemicals. It's already a well-known fact. So I can get rid of the varroa mites. My bees don't die during the winter from varroa mites. My bees die during the winter because they only live 3 to 4 months. I can get them through December, January, and towards the end of February, they start dying because they're getting old, and the toxic chemicals in their hive shortens their life. Okay, so if we have a long winter and it doesn't warm up until the end of April, I have a hard time. And this is what the last few years have been for me. Currently, I have 204 colonies, and I would like to be able to go into winter with 200, but the chances of that probably pretty slim. Okay, this is a year ago. About this time, September 27th, 127 colonies. And then this is 2 years ago, September 29th, 158 colonies. So you see, I have fewer colonies last year than I did the previous year. Why is that? Because they had a hard time during 2022, the winter, coming out of winter. It took a long time. We didn't have any dandelions until May. So there was nothing. Bees, they have to have sunlight and they have to have flowers to be inspired to want to live. I've noticed if you have a dreary, in Michigan, the weather is dreary. If you don't have any sunshine, you don't have any place for them to go get nectar, they don't want to live. It doesn't matter if you feed them syrup or not. They have to want to live. If they don't have that desire to live, they die. So during a long winter, I lose colonies. So let me show you something else. I have been doing a lot of electrical work towards the end of summer. People get, so they put things off and they say, oh, I got to get this done before winter gets here. So I have 5 current jobs going on right now. And also when I went to the other apiary, I come back home before noon and I find a colony being robbed. And you don't realize, I checked my colonies, every colony about a month ago, made sure they had queens. But because of the number of colonies in my area, I can only do hive inspections early in the morning. If you leave a hive open in the afternoon for any length of time, the robbers will get that honey. And before you know it, you've got thousands and thousands of bees attacking that colony. And it doesn't matter if you put the hive back together. They will get in. What they do is they get in and they kill the entrance guards. And they keep doing that over and over again until they overwhelm the colony. And before you know it, all the robbers in that hive, and they're killing that colony and they kill that queen. That's why I've lost several colonies. But I'll show you what I did to prevent some of that. Okay, these colonies here, these were all under robbing threat. They all got robbed to a certain point, but I stopped it. And I was moving colonies down to get them in one area, and I was leaving them just one hive length a day. Every day they flew. But there was still enough bees that went back to the original location. And they don't seem to mind if there's a different queen in there. And also what I've done is, the only entrance that most of these, well actually all of them have just one entrance down at the bottom of the hive. I plugged up the top, and contrary to what Vinyl Farm says, super insulate a hive and close off the upper entrances. I have a shim here so they can get ventilation. And yes, sometimes some of the bees of this colony will go around the back and end up getting in there, and they die because they can't get any food. But this also confuses the robbers. The robbers, they'll be flying around the hive and they'll go in there thinking they're going to get honey, and they can't get to it, but they think they can. So that keeps the robbers busy. So every one of my colonies right now is set up this way. See, more dead bees because they went back to the back, but there's not much I can do about that. You don't want the entrance to that shim up here because obviously the bees, all the bees would end up in there and they would all die. So, what else can I say? Let me pause. Yeah, this is the east side of my house. Pretty nice during the summer. They get shade in the afternoon, but during the winter what happens is if the sun comes up and it's sunny during the winter and it warms up a little bit, the bees will be out flying around, and all of a sudden the sun will go past the house and it'll get shady. It'll get super cold here and the bees won't make it back into the hive. And even, see, I have the dark paint hive so that the sun hits it and the bee gets cold. They can go here and they can warm up, but if there's no sunshine on this, it's not going to help the bees and they end up falling to the ground. So I got to get these moved. I'll probably move them to the other apiary here in a few days. And the other thing about the other apiary, a couple of weeks ago I went there, and as soon as I rolled into my truck, there was a swarm in the air, a big swarm, and I thought, okay, one of my colonies is swarming. And I checked all my colonies. No, it was a colony from probably a commercial beekeeper in that area, and they ended up in a tree right above my hives. So I thought, okay, I'm going to see if I can find a colony that doesn't have a queen and turn that into a swarm trap. Set it up for a swarm trap, put her at the tree. And I spent 15-20 minutes, couldn't find a colony without a queen. So I ended up going home, getting a hive, putting a hive together there, and putting in lemongrass oil and some dead queens and some isopropyl alcohol. And it was only a half hour after they'd gone up into the tree. And for 10 days, they didn't go. I ended up setting up a second one. For 10 days, I never went into that hive, and it would have cost me $225 to rent a lift. And it was too far. I tried climbing up a tree, got halfway, and it was just too dangerous, so it wasn't really worth it. When you have over 200 colonies, and you consider I created 150 during the summer, risking your life to get a colony out of a tree is not that big a deal. There's so many videos on the YouTube about people catching swarms. Everybody makes a big deal about that. You know, I can make 150 colonies during the summer, and it costs me nothing to do that but my time. And if you guys are going to risk your life trying to get a swarm out of, high up in a tree or up in a building, for one swarm, for one colony, it's not that big. This is my basement I'm working on. So I'm busy and I'm getting the drain set up. It's going to start raining here. It cools off in Michigan. Lake Michigan provides a lot of moisture and it gets really rainy around here. So it's not good for honeybees in the fall. And pause again. This is the problem. When you lose a colony, you end up with a hive with frames in it. And if you can't open other hives to put frames in, because I'm sure I have a lot of colonies that have frames that don't have anything on them, but I can't spend the time during the day to switch frames out because they'd get robbed. So you end up putting them in a building, and this building is not protected from wax moths. And all I can do is put screens. I went through and I pulled out all the frames that didn't have anything important on them. It's like these right here have nothing. And these frames here have honey and pollen, or just pollen. Or they're an old frame, or they're an old dark. Anything darker than, let's see, I don't have one here, but anything looks like chocolate, you know you're going to get wax moths on. You don't get wax moths on this because there's nothing for them to, they live off the waste of the brood that was in the cells. And, this right here. Robbing, if you don't know if a colony's been robbed or not, take a frame out and look and see if it's not level across the comb, it's been robbed. Let's see if I get this in here. Yeah, you see that? It's hard to show on it, but you look across that, it's not level. They just get in there and they just rip all the cappings off real fast like, and you'll see a bunch of wax in the bottom of the hive. So this is why I'm building that basement, because during the winter when my colonies shrink from the toxic chemicals killing them, I have to have buildings that are able to keep the heat in. I don't have to necessarily heat the building, but just the insulated walls, you close it up a little bit. A lot of times I'll leave it like that so they can get some fresh air, but still stay warm enough that either wind, if the colony gets small, this helps keep them alive longer, because it all depends on how big the cluster is, whether they can survive outside or not. We don't have enough beekeepers on YouTube talking about the toxic chemicals killing your bees. You know, they want to talk about all these different types of hives and what you need to do to, you know, insulate the hive. That's just all a bunch of bullshit. Why not talk about the toxic chemicals? Are you afraid of the corporations? Yeah, the corporations are running this country, but it's about time we stand up to the corporations. And my wife asked me, this is what I'm going to title the video, my wife asked me, when are the honeybees going to make money? I couldn't give her an answer. You know, I called some commercial beekeepers, told them I had some for sale, and one of them called me back, said they're not buying any, but I haven't heard from any others. This is going to be my extracting room here. It's going to have a loft. So I'm working as fast as I can to get all this stuff set up. You have to have several colonies in order to make any money. You just can't have 10 to 15 colonies and extract them all by hand and think you're going to make enough money to live on. So this right here was going to be, like I said, the basement. I'm going to store all my hives, and I'm going to make this. I got a lot to do here. I got to put treated boards on top of these blocks when I get them all done. But anyway, I'm going to make this moth-proof. So the moths are not going to be able to get in here. And I will not open this door. There's going to be a stairway and a door right here. I will not open it at night. It will only be open during the day. And at night, it's going to be closed up, and I'll make sure, I'm going to guarantee the wax moths can't get it. The reason they get in that shed is for that garage door there. And also I have, it's my dog kennel. I also have access for things to get in and out there. So that's basically where I'm at right now. When my honeybees are going to make money, I don't know, but I'm not losing any money. Okay, thank you.